A Widnes man and a co-accused woman have been jailed for life for the brutal murder of a 65-year-old grandfather in Wales. Lauren Harris, 29, of no fixed abode, but from Colwyn Bay, and David Webster, 43, of Lacey Street, Widnes, were sentenced at Mole Crown Court. This is after a jury found them guilty on August the 8th of murdering David Mark Wilcox in his own Colwyn Bay home. Mr Justice Edward Pepperall, who presided over their 2-month trial, handed minimum terms of imprisonment of 25 years to Harris and 23 years to Webster. Harris, who had moved in with Mr Wilcox at his home on Bayview Road, stabbed him twice in the early hours of November the 20th, 2023, while Webster also inflicted unlawful violence upon him. She and Mr Wilcox appeared to have started a relationship in mid-2023 and had invited Webster, who she met for the first time days earlier, and Thomas Whiteley, who was cleared of murder, to his home on the evening of November the 19th, but an argument ensued and Mr Wilcox, whose bank account had been drained of funds in the months he and Harris lived together, was attacked and stabbed. Harris then urged Webster and Whiteley to join her in Mr Wilcox's Volvo. When they did, she drove off, only for the car to crash moments later. Mr Wilcox was found unconscious in his living room by police shortly after. All three were arrested later on November the 20th, while Harris was charged on November the 24th, and Webster and Whiteley on January the 18th, 2024. Webster and Whiteley held each other responsible for inflicting violence upon Mr Wilcox, and both of them said Harris stabbed him, which she denied. Webster swore and shouted repeatedly through the sentencing, including calling Harris a psychotic B-word. He was warned by Mr Justice Pepperall to show more respect, or face being removed from the dock. Harris was largely emotionless. Webster told her, "I hope you burn in hell, Lauren, you effing dog," as he was led out of the dock following the end of the hearing. Prosecutor Anna Pope read out numerous statements from Mr Wilcox's family. His estranged wife, Marcia, said he was a funny, kind and generous and loving man who took care of the people closest to him. He added, "I struggled to make sense of Mark's brutal murder. Some days I'm overwhelmed with grief." Aaron Clowes, Mr Wilcox's sister, said his death has had a life-changing impact and labelled his murder callous and pointless. Daniel Wilcox, one of Mr Wilcox's 4 sons, said his father was the cornerstone of our family. He added that his death has caused immense trauma and distress and has left a void that feels irreparable. Harris had 40 previous convictions for 83 offences, including dishonesty, assault, battery, and an offence of wounding involving the use of a knife against a partner. She was described by her barrister, Simon Killeen, as somebody with a rather broken past, having been addicted to drugs since the age of 18. Webster had 25 previous convictions for 37 offences, including possession of a bladed article, multiple shoplifting and drug possession offences, burglary with the use of violence, and assault occasioning actual bodily harm. His barrister, David Elias, KC, said there was no evidence that Mr Webster encouraged Miss Harris to use a knife, nor was there evidence that Webster was violent to Mr Wilcox while Harris was at the cash point. Sentencing them both, Mr Justice Pepperall told them they were responsible for the brutal and senseless murder of a much-loved father, husband, son, brother, and grandfather. He added, "It was, in my judgment, the same generosity of spirit that moved Mark Wilcox to support you, Lauren Harris, as he sought to help you turn your life around, and which led him to the fearful decision to invite you and your friends to drink and smoke with him on November the 19th. It is no coincidence that you, Lauren Harris, were seeking to get money out of Mr Wilcox's bank account, while you, David Webster, were attempting to make a drug deal. I am sure that you, Lauren Harris, stabbed Mr Wilcox twice. There is ample evidence that you were responsible for stabbing Mr Wilcox. I am sure that you, David Webster, smashed a vodka bottle over Mr Wilcox's head. There is again ample evidence that you were responsible for inflicting that injury. You, David Webster, told lie after lie as to how it was you who came to be in possession of Mr Wilcox's watches. Mr Justice Pepperall added that he detected no remorse from Harris and said he had committed an abuse of your partner's trust. He said to her and Webster it was a sustained and vicious attack in which you showed Mr Wilcox no mercy. It is sadly evident that Mr Wilcox suffered greatly as he bravely fought to defend himself before he lost consciousness and died. You both callously helped yourself to his car, phone, wallets and watches when the opportunity arose. You left Mr Wilcox for dead and without his phone that he might have used to summon emergency assistance. You gave him no further thought as you focused on your own selfish need. To Mr Wilcox's son in court, Mr Justice Pepperall said, I know words are utterly inadequate, but I extend to you my deepest condolences for the loss of your father in such appalling circumstances. I thank you for the dignity with which you have conducted yourselves in this courtroom, despite in this sentencing the most extreme provocation from one of those responsible for your father's murder. I do hope the conclusion of this trial helps you in moving on with your lives and coming to terms with the terrible thing which happened to your father last year. I wish you all the very best in your future. A life sentence is mandatory for defendants who are convicted of murder. Only after Harris and Webster have served the entirety of their minimum terms of imprisonment can the parole board consider them for release from prison on licence. This means that Harris will not be freed from prison until at least she is aged 54 years old, and Webster until at least he is 65 years old. They will both remain on licence for life, meaning they could get recalled to prison even if they have not committed another offence. The 9 and 7 months Harris and Webster respectively spent remanded in custody are subtracted from their minimum terms. Please like this video, please comment, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.